Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 107.
Yep.
I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by
David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well. 107. We're not close to any milestones. We just passed the milestones. I appreciate you guys and gals hanging out with us, putting up with us, giving us clicks, giving us reads. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're going to thank you by actually covering some news like we do every week, or at least we try to. This on the docket, we got the celebration of Years of War with custom controllers. We're talking about those. YouTube's Premium Lite is expanding around the world. I think YouTube feels like they're pretty comfortable in their new package, so they're going to start giving it to more people. Moore's Law is dead, according to Jensen Huang, I believe it is, from NVIDIA. And he's basically saying that we're not going to be getting any cheap GPUs, and I'm sure that probably applies for memory as well. So once it goes up, it rarely comes back down kind of situation. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover the Pixel event. We had a big Pixel event this week where they showed the foldables, the regular phone, the fold, watches, Google's version of an AirTag, and then we got some after the event news about pricing, availability, and I think their AR glasses once again. Then we'll also talk about Microsoft unifying its consumer Copilot app and 365 Copilot app into a single app. For those of you who are scratching your head wondering what the difference was, you join the rest of us. But hopefully
I'm scratching mine too.
Yeah, Microsoft ideally, depending on this news, is going to sort that out for us. With that being said, I think we have a tech rant this week, and I'm going to let my buddy David take it from here.
I'm going to keep this as short as possible, not to waste anybody's time, but I just want to know, just to give you a 30-second background, I'm not an everyday Mac user. I'm not an everyday Apple user. I got rid of my last Mac in 2019. The last Mac that I used on a consumer level was an M1 MacBook Air for a very short period of time on a very quick task. So I really didn't get a feel for it. But recently I had the chance to use an M5 Ultra, I believe it was. Anyway, it was an M5 either way. 36 gigs of RAM. It was not, decked to the gills or anything like that, but I get it. 36 gigs of RAM is, fairly stout when you look at Apple pricing. And when I got a chance to use that, we had a Final Cut edit going. We had a team session going, 12 or 15 browser windows, and a few other things. Just your average everyday creator content workflow. And I was noticing where's that performance in Windows? And what I mean by that is when you start a render on that machine, when you start a render on a Windows machine, you're notable of what you do once you start that render because your machine slows down. It hits a area of being a little less responsive than what you're used to. And it stays that way generally for the most part until your render is done. Now, before anybody attacks me in the comments, I get it. You can get business machines big enough to make this less of an issue. I'm talking about your consumer machines that you can go buy in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, kind of where your M5 Mac sits. As I was sitting there using this M5 Mac, I was completely blown away by the hardware performance and OS stability while rendering a project that had special effects, multiple layers, overlays. This was not just your straight talking head video that, is a one-liner audio track, video track. There were several stacked layers. There were special effects. And this Mac is just sitting there rendering like, hey, how you doing? Got it under control. And I'm sitting there browsing, in Safari, and I'm opening up Chrome. And, oh, is that what you want me to do? Okay, got it. And, I pull up their resource manager and 30%, 40%, 50%. And it acts like it just isn't bothered by anything that I have asked it to do. Now, if anybody has bought a Mac or looks at these Macs, you're talking about a $3,000 machine. I get that. But what do we have to do to get this performance in Windows? Or am I just a little guy over here on a street corner who hasn't bought the right device yet to get this performance in Windows? Now, I've seen, I'm going to give Windows a little bit of credit. I have seen the AI workstations out there, or the quote unquote AI workstations out there that have got the AMD CPU, GPU combo in there, the Strix Halo 395, and I think there's a new one out that's a 4 something now. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Do those, somebody tell me, do those behave more like the Mac M5, or is it time for David just to go buy himself a Mac M5 and just have it over there on the side and just not mention it during our podcast? I mean, where's this performance at on the Windows side of things? What am I missing? Somebody tell me.
Presumably you're missing Intel being able to create a chip that can manage that kind of memory.
I'm missing something, man, because, you and I could, we were talking about, you and I cover hardware every day, and we read a ton every week, or at least I do, and I know you do too, because you're always sharing things with me. But I was blown away by the package because it was cool. It wasn't, 202. I am being a little funny here. It wasn't 200 degrees Celsius. I wasn't watching the battery life drop 5% every 30 seconds. It was under control. That's the best way to put it. You knew you were putting a workload on it, but it was under control. It was not overloaded. If anything, it felt underloaded. It felt like there was more there for, that it could do if it was asked to. And I've never worked with a PC on the consumer side. And I want to make sure I make that clear, on the consumer side, that has that type of performance and feels that way. Now, business PCs, I've done that, but you got to get up there in the multi thousands of dollars range to get a business level PC that will run Windows, to get that type of performance. You're talking Quadro graphics cards at that point. You're talking Threadripper or better CPUs. You're already up there in the $7,000 range. That's not a consumer product that I can go in an Apple store, like you can go in an Apple store and buy it. And I'm like, and I kind of walked away, buddy, and I was shaking my head going, is Apple this far ahead? And it was kind of hard to deny it.
Well, that is the type of podcast we are. We do not do denialism. If we'll give you the truth, if it's a good computer, it's a good computer. And the Mac M series are great computers, to be honest with you. So we're going to leave it at that. If you have any final thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to move on to our topics of the week.
No, go ahead. Let's cover some Windows, because that's what people come here for. We're not going to open up a Mac podcast. It was just an observation I had, that kind of made me go, whoa, Windows feels behind suddenly. Maybe it actually is.
Mark it in your calendars, ladies and gentlemen who are listening. This is the start of our Apple Unboxed pod pretty soon. You got to pivot, go where the money's at. The first story we got is Stardock. It's one that you have. It's a friend of ours, Brad Sam, and his company. What do they do? Why are they bothering us this week?
Well, Stardock is pretty cool, and I have always given, as I pull up your notes instead of mine, look at that. Stardock has always been of interest to me because, speaking of tinkering with Windows, This is one company that builds software that tinkers with Windows functions to make them better, because Microsoft sometimes cannot seem to figure that out. And this is one of those cases. We have a product here called Alt Tabby. That's Tabby. Can anybody guess what this product does just based on its name? If you have used Windows all the way back to Windows 3.1, the common keyboard combination to switch apps was Alt-Tab. If you hold it down, you would get a list of windows you have open and you could tab through them. Guess what? That experience has never changed. You can hit Alt-Tab today in Windows 11, and it looks pretty much the same. There's no customization. There's nothing to go through and say, hey, I want to pin these windows. I want to make this window dynamic. I want to take this window out of Alt-Tab. I would prefer my windows be listed vertically instead of horizontal. These are the type of things that Alt-Tabby does. It allows you to customize that experience. You can customize your keyboard shortcuts even to automatically bring, this seems like common sense in Windows to me, but obviously Microsoft isn't there yet. You can set a hotkey. Say you wanted to bring up Edge. Tap that hotkey, bam, switches to Edge. You need to go back to Spotify to change, your song, or you got the boss coming in and you need to mute it real quick. Bam, you can set that hotkey, jump right over there, take care of it. You can move your apps in any order that you want them to be, whereas Windows kind of puts them in the order that you open them. Well, you get 10 or 12 things open, maybe you need to switch directly between one or the other when you hit Alt-Tab. You can do that here with Alt-Tabby. And now that I've talked about it for just a minute, you probably want to know how to get it. So, StarDock does really well. They keep things inexpensive. So Alt-Tabby is available in beta at $7.99. That is a 20% discount off of the regular price of $9.99. It's also available in Object Desktop, which is their yearly subscription. I don't have that number in front of me, but I know it's less than $100, and you get all of their apps. I've got Alt-Tabby running. I've got Multiplicity running. I've got one called Groupie running. You really should jump over there, stardock.com. Check out their apps. They do some really cool things with Windows that Microsoft doesn't do that make it very user-friendly.
Yeah, it's interesting. They have all the underlying APIs to mess around with this stuff. It's just someone in development, management, engineering, we just at some point in the chain saying, nah, don't worry about it. We'll leave this stuff in there if they want to tweak it themselves, but we're going to leave it as much of a mess as we can since Windows Vista.
Well, I do. I get excited every time StarDock releases something because this is the type of stuff they do. It's not just a one-off, hey, we got this one-off thing that does this in Windows. I don't have their list of products up here in front of me, but every one of their products does something that I feel like Microsoft should already have built in Windows.
You, my friend, are not alone. You join the huddled masses as we all get in our corner and get very angry about what Microsoft could be doing versus what they're currently doing. With that being said, let's go on to a little bit of bad news. We'll try and front load the worst part of the news so that we can end the pod on a happy note, shall we?
All right.
The little bit of bad news I'm talking about is Jensen Huang. He's becoming the bane of every PC user's existence. He used to be the hero, ironically.
He's a rich Jensen Huang. He's a rich Jensen Huang.
Yes, if you are related to him or a friend of, he's probably the best person to know. For the rest of us, again, who live in the PC world, who buy electronics, who are suffering from Remageddon, he's the kind of guy that is quickly becoming the finger you point at. And his latest remarks don't help that. we have Jensen Huang. Believe he was giving an interview. During this interview, he's been quoted. This is what you'll find on most of the headlines out about him, is that he's saying, quote, make sure I get this right. Moore's law is, quote unquote, dead and completely over, meaning chip performance will no longer double without cost increases. GPU prices continue to rise, mostly because a lot of people have large orders, quantity of orders from NVIDIA, which is why he, as my partner David just said, is one of the richest people in the computer tech world to date. And it happened seemingly overnight. As soon as AI was introduced, NVIDIA was poised in position to be right there in that section and kind of gather and gobble up all those orders for GPUs to train these models, RAM to feed the servers in order to gather the information in order to feed this machine. Like, he's got it on both ends. And for a company that used to be known mostly for GPUs, I say relatively inexpensive. That's like, if you were a PC gamer and had somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, you can make your experience super enjoyable. He's basically saying he and the company NVIDIA are no longer in use small fries, which would be us. He's going after the big fish. And in doing so, the prices of GPUs have gone up. And he essentially doesn't think they're coming down. What are your thoughts on this? Of him saying, we've all kind of touted Moore's law at some point about, the evolution of the PC, the GUI, the Microsoft Office suites and productivity in general. About hardware specific, it's usually smartphones. Like, hey, at some point, the RAM will double, the speed will double. Things get doubled essentially as we evolve, and it's just part of the evolution of technology. He's saying that's out the window because of AI, basically.
Well, we've got an assumption here that this AI bubble is going to keep growing before it bursts. I mean, I think back to when ATI used to be the video card that everybody wanted. Remember those? You had the ATI little 3D cards, you had the Voodoo 3D, the Voodoo 3D cards, and that's what everybody wanted. Well, then NVIDIA came in and kind of says, here's an entry-level card. You had this 530 to 630 to 730, and then we went on up to the 1080 series. Well, everybody got tired of buying NVIDIA cards there for a while, so AMD said, hey, we'll make them. So AMD entered the fray. Intel entered the fray once or twice and jumped back out during this time period. He's right in that things are going to double. I get it. I follow it. But this is going to open the door, I think, for somebody to say, yes, we're going to do consumer GPUs. And we're going to do it at a reasonable cost, for whatever's reasonable at that time. Because gamers, creators, etc., need something they can afford. Now, it kind of goes back to my rant. Does everybody that needs that type of thing go buy a MacBook? Because they don't do the NVIDIA thing. Does Strix Halo? They're at, for gamers out there, they're at about the 4060 level, early 4070 level as far as gaming performance goes. Those are AMD. That's not NVIDIA. I get what Jensen's saying. Moore's law is, yes, for every time something goes up, it's going to get more expensive. But it kind of feels like he's throwing all his eggs in one basket, where he's saying, okay, the heck with consumers. We're going after the money over here where AI is at. Well, AI may not always be there. Now, I did see something this week on that Google Gemini had hit, what was it? 1 billion users? It was a large number. I saw it on another website.
I wouldn't be surprised in that.
Where they had hit 1 billion users. I'm not going to lie that the numbers are out there, but eventually that market will become saturated like everything else. And it's like, okay, the growth will stop, the growth will back off. And Jensen, buddy, we might not be buying as many GPUs once that growth backs off. So then are you going to look back at your gamers and your content creators and, your numerical analysis folks and go, oh, sorry, I said that about you. Come on over and buy a GPU. We'll take a good percentage off of it because I'm not making the billions of dollars every day that I was just, X amount of years ago. So for now, right, I follow. Come back a couple years from now. Come back 5 years from now. Come back a year from now and ask that same question.
Over the last 3 years, I'm sure Wong has developed the goldiest of golden parachutes for himself to land. If the AI bubble does bust. I don't think he's very worried about that. Too, it's ironic that we're doing in memory and GPU performance is what we did in streaming and cable. To your point, there's going to have to be someone who's going to come along and just, sell consumer grade GPUs at a relatively inexpensive cost. And that was NVIDIA's whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to need someone to be the NVIDIA that NVIDIA used to be in the future. It's just funny to hear that being said. The next story we got, YouTube Premium is going global. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this was YouTube Premium Lite. The whole reason I brought this up is I realized that people, speaking of money, I realized
Segway.
People need something more inexpensive. And I really didn't know that YouTube Premium Lite was even a thing until the other day. I was in my Google One app. Google has got us all locked into the cloud storage now when they started the free email account many years ago, because guess what? We all said, hey, that's free. We're going to use it. They capped us at 15 gig. And then, when we kept using it, went over 15 gig, they told us we had to pay for it. So I'm like everybody else. I'm kind of stuck in that spot there where I'm like, all right, I'm going to give Google their X dollars for, the rest of my existence for that email account. Well, they get us hooked into that AI subscription and voila, here we are. So I was looking through my Google One account just this past week and it said, includes YouTube Premium Lite. I'm like, what is that? And I looked and it had always been available in different select countries. YouTube Premium Lite cuts out 90%, according to Google, of the ads that you get when you're watching your content. Now, it does not, this is where it's going to get a lot of people, it does not offer that background playing on your phone. That's where it's going to get you. I think a lot of people could deal with the ads, but a lot of us are watching a video and we're multitasking, or watching a video and we need to switch and answer a text, or we need to switch and answer an email. Well, that video is going to stop playing. That video is going to stop playing and make you switch that window back and press play again. When you're in the shower, some of us like to put these things on, and if your phone rings and something, or something comes through and pushes that to the background, guess what? Your video is going to stop, and you do not get the YouTube music that a lot of people use. So, are you a YouTube? The way you are?
I am. I jumped ship after the Spotify Joe Rogan deal. I was like, you know what? I'm out. I can't affect change via my voice, but I can do it by my wallet. And so I decided to take my money and go elsewhere. And YouTube. I used to be a Google Play Music fan, and they allowed you to port everything over to YouTube Music, which is what I did. And then I started building collections from there. I also used the YouTube Premium subscription in order to avoid commercials. So having music and avoiding commercials is basically the main sell. It's been working out great for me. But yeah, I am one of millions, I suppose, that use YouTube Music or YouTube Music, and I just archiving random podcasts, right-wing coded podcasts. But that being said,
I'm the same way, and that that's why I wanted to bring this up. The YouTube Premium is $7.99 a month. So that's a little bit of a discount from the what is it, $11.99 that we pay for the full premium. So that's a little bit of a discount. Like you said, though, you don't get your music, and I'm like you. I have been on the YouTube music platform for I can't even remember when. I have to go back and let them tell me, how long I've been a member, because they get that money religiously. In fact, I figured out just a little tidbit. I figured out this last year how to pay it annually.
Oh, you figured out how to get there?
Yeah, but there's a trick to that too.
I'm sure it's a hidden toggle somewhere.
No, you have to, and it's a little bit scary. You have to cancel your existing. But when you cancel, it tells you that we do not delete your data when you cancel. You have to trust that statement. You have to trust that statement.
Who's trusting that statement, to be honest?
And then once you cancel and you go back to resubscribe, it will ask you if you want to do annual or monthly. You cannot go from a monthly to an annual with a toggle switch like you think you should be able to.
It seems weird and an odd misstep, yeah. You want to take more people, fleece them, do it quickly. That being said, we're going to get into Microsoft unifying its consumer Copilot app.
Is anybody confused yet?
I think all of us are, and for good reason. But I think some people might just tell us, the easiest way to identify the difference between the two is that the Microsoft 365 Copilot experience is set against a dark background, dark gray, often black. Only shows up, I think, for Windows PCs when you type in Microsoft 365. It also sorts through, collects data from your Office productivity apps in order to prepare itself for any prompts that you might have going forward. The Copilot consumer app, though, is Windows, but it was introduced in Windows, but it can be applied via mobile, via macOS, and it does sync across those devices if you use your Microsoft account ID. But it's also offering a bubblier interface that's like a dark blue, offers some, tie-ins to speech. I think it's text to speech, text to image, and some other models like that as well. It also comes with the briefing. I think I don't know if the M365 comes with that, but Copilot has the briefing that'll basically give you, hey, good morning, here's all the things that you need to do today, here's your emails and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like, as far as the story goes and more specifics, Microsoft got the hint, and they're basically merging their consumer and enterprise version of Copilot together into one unified app, which will be able to use for both personal, work, and school accounts. Some consumer features like group chat and podcast are being removed, which definitely sucks. You think with consolidation that you would add some stuff because you have, you may or may not have layers of different things that offer very similarly, and trimming them down where they're consistent makes sense, but to get rid of them altogether, not a good look. The unified app adds an account switcher, which I think Microsoft does in most of its account supported software. So if you're in Teams, you have a business profile and a personal profile, I think you just go to the icon and you can click, switch profiles or open up an instance in that desired profile. Same thing with Outlook and Office itself. So that's not anything different. Microsoft is also restoring an all-in-one Office-style functionality, letting users open Word, Excel, Outlook files, and other Microsoft 365 content directly inside the Copilot app. Like I said, if you don't pay for Office, you haven't had this experience, but picture OneDrive, when you open it up and it has that little menu that has all the apps together in it, and you can kind of choose from there. This is very similar for the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. So again, it seems like they're going to gain indexing for those of us who are, consumer versions or using consumer versions of Microsoft 365 or Copilot, Windows 365 version. You'll get some more features, but if you're coming from the Microsoft 365 era, you're actually going to be losing some stuff. So what are your thoughts on Microsoft, what is this, 3.5 years later now, deciding, hey, we're going to make things maybe just one time?
I'm going to give the smart response. Duh. you know, and I'm sorry, that's kind of, I get it. That's kind of the smart aleck response. But, Copilot and, all AI producers is the word I'm going to use, are guilty of the same thing. The phrase AI came out and we threw every feature, and we're still throwing features at the wall. It's not stopped. It's just kind of slowed down. We're going through a lull. We threw everything at the wall and we're like, okay, how can we get the most money out of this? We need a business one. They need to pay a few bucks more. We need, a consumer one. They need to pay X amount of dollars, and we can, we can throw it all together. And then just like we did with Teams, we got tired of having to load 2 versions of Teams. So they gave us the account switcher. Well, I don't really like the account switcher. I wish they just give me the option to sign it all into one thing. So now, with Copilot, hey, we're going to get it all together. Everybody come together. What I don't like is what you said, the cutting of features, which, kind of goes back to Jensen Huang a little bit earlier in the podcast. They probably took a look at some stats, some usage, and went, okay, we're not making enough money.
Leave Jensen alone.
We're not making enough money to, cover those GPUs that we, allocated for podcasting. Okay, we can reallocate those to the general Copilot pool and make more money. So we'll get rid of podcasting. I think it's a bad look when you give people these AI functions and then just snatch them away. Because if you look at the article, some of them are already gone. They're gone as of this week, this past week. It's not like they said, hey, here's 30 days, here's 90 days, here's 120 days. It's like, 2 weeks, gone. So somebody's sitting there in the data center just ready to push that button or move that hardware. Yeah, boys, we got to get this GPU over here back on the old Copilot stack, and put it all together. And, they'll find a way to make more money out of that, because what they're going to do is the Copilot pricing will go up, and it's not going to matter what you use. But there's going to become a point there where you tick off the people that use it for just basic everyday things, and their price keeps going up to help pay for the folks that are really hammering it at the enterprise level. So I guess we'll have to just wait and see how this plays out, or are we just getting closer and closer to everything going pop goes the bubble?
I believe we are. But I also think this is indicative of Microsoft learning the AI lessons a little sooner than others. And I'm not saying that to be boisterous or prideful. I think Microsoft is just realizing, hey, we put AI in everything and not everybody wants it. So now we're going to claw some of that back and give it just to enterprise, because that seems to be where we're making our money. And in doing so, they realized that, again, we put the consumer version, tucked it in everything. We put the Microsoft then we came out of Microsoft 365 one, which makes more sense than the consumer one on Windows, and said, hey, you know what? Let's put them all together. One, it'll save us on engineer timing. It'll save us on model distribution as well. And then we won't have to maintain these disparate LLMs that don't actually talk to each other connected. It's just a bad user experience when I go on Copilot for Windows, start looking up something, and then Microsoft 365 Copilot, which has the same icon and presumably does the same thing, doesn't have it because it's not linked. And when I said that they're learning their lesson, I feel like Google's going to learn this the hard way as well. People were just talking after the Google event about how Gemini, which is winning by sheer volume because, Google has all of the, supporting ecosystems in order to serve Gemini to. Mm-hmm. They're saying that Gemini in Android Auto doesn't remember stuff the Gemini in your house does, even though they're both Gemini. So if you're driving home and you say, yeah, so if you're driving home and you're saying, hey, remind me to stop and get eggs, milk, some other things for breakfast tomorrow. Or maybe when I go home, remind me I need to go back out and get those things. You say it in your car says, great, no problem, gotcha. You get home, and the home, pod or whatever you're listening to that's supposed to remind you is just looking at you with a blank stare, like, what are you looking at me for? You talk to the car, not me. And that is what I think Microsoft is trying to avoid with this consolidation.
Well, there's another way that it kind of flips back around. I was noticing this week. Google makes things in the AI space easily accessible. I'll give them that. I think that's why they're winning in the user area as far as user numbers. Now, Microsoft makes you jump through those Azure hoops once you get just a little bit past, just basic everyday Copilot. So, Microsoft wants their money up front and they keep showing it, I guess.
We're going to move on to our next topic, which is the celebration of Gears of War with custom controllers. What do you got for us on that?
Yep. Just if anybody is out there, it finishes up tomorrow, I believe. We're doing this podcast on Saturday. The Gears of War E-Day that's coming later this year. The beta is running this weekend, so everybody go jump in that beta, check it out. I checked it out last night. Pretty good little game for the folks that need memories of the whole Gears of War franchise back in the early to mid 2000s. I don't remember when the first version came out off the top of my head, but the marketing team has ramped it up, and we're getting to the point where, guess what? You can get yourself some custom controllers. So what we have, let me scroll down to where this was in my notes. Let's see, there we go. So you get 2 controllers. You can start getting them. One of them you can start getting now. There's the black and white one you can get now, and it comes with rubberized grips. It comes with blacked out A, B, X, Y buttons, and comes with red glowing fissures revealing the Crimson Omen, and they are 3D model laser etched in cracked asphalt. We've got a picture of them up on screen. Now, if you want the custom one, you can go to the Xbox Lab on September 19th and get one of those customized to your liking. If you're that deep into Gears of War, I enjoy the title, but I'm not quite that deep into it yet. Now, keep in mind, these little suckers are just a little bit expensive, like everything else. So if you want this Gears of War controller, it's $89.99. You can pick those up at, yeah, that's what I said. You can pick those up at your major retailers today. The custom ones, we don't have a price on those yet, which I would assume. I have never used the Xbox Design Lab because I'm just a basic guy over here. Whatever Xbox controller gets the job done, what it looks like does not matter to me. So I've never used Xbox Lab to have one customized. I have heard some people say they go upwards of $100 for a controller. That's just not me. That's not at the budget level. I'm there for the gaming experience. But if you're all in and you want it, it's there, $89.99. Any retailer today. It wouldn't surprise me to see a customized Gears of War Xbox follow this, or an Xbox shell, or an Xbox skin, or something. Might be the next move that the Xbox marketing team makes. But jump out there, get it. I know my buddy over there on the other side, he's got his $89.99 ready, I'm sure. And he'll be at Best Buy in the morning when they open up.
Yep.
To get his Gears of War controller.
Definitely. I like the Gears of War franchise. It's fun.
It
I'm
is.
glad that they're doing this for the fans, and I hope they sell a lot. We've been talking about the earnings call for the last few quarters, how hardware is down. Hopefully, this can help spark some more interest. I'm not sure, but good on them. The more customization for gamers, the better I think the overall experience is for everybody.
I hope it
That-
sells well, but I don't think it will.
oh, thank you. Thanks for being a pessimist and just undercutting all of that optimism. I see your optimism and I raise you pessimism. With that being said, let's go to our last story before we get out of here. It's a Google event. For those of you who are waiting to see it, sorry we pulled the local news where we kept teasing you at the very beginning. Oh, just wait. Something better's coming. Finally, the last 3 minutes of news is what you've been waiting for, which is the Pixel, what they call, made by Google events that happened, I believe, on Tuesday of this week. The way Google does it is slightly different from Apple, where Apple has all pre-made videos. Google does a mix of demos, some pre-made stuff, and then they have some kind of weird night event where at least for the last 2 years, they've invited comedians to come on and kind of just walk through in an everyday casual setting without demos, without rehearsed speeches, and just kind of saying, hey, let's play around with the phone and see what these things can do. This year it's been Trevor Noah. Last year was Jimmy Fallon, I believe. Who knows what they're going to get for next year? But here is the news on the new phones if you're interested. We have the Pixel Fold. Oh, no, sorry. The Pixel 11 Pro, 11 Pro XL, and the 11 Pro Fold. So they're no longer just doing Pixel Fold. They've actually given it a number. The number jumped from 0 to 11 to catch up with everything. But here we are nonetheless. I believe the Pixel starting storage is at 256 gigabytes, which is unfortunate for a lot of people who wanted, I guess, 512 or a terabyte option. It is nice that they're not doing the 128, but the problem is that at 256, the price is already built in, and it's, I believe, $100 more than last year's for each respective model. So if you have a Pixel 10, you might want to just hold on to it. The other key highlights were the design. It's a little thinner, but it looks relatively the same. The camera bump's been evolutioned, where I believe they've flattened the little camera bump on the back. They don't no longer divide the telephoto lens from everything else. It all just fits neatly in the back of there. The other big sellout feature, unfortunately for anybody who's a Pixel Fold fan, aside from the hardware, was this little glowing light that they're going to put on the back. The glowing light can't be mapped to anything other than, I believe, 1 or 2 Google instances.
No customizable glowing light.
Correct. So for those of you who were thinking like, hey, I'm going to be able to customize, hey, I want the ring to glow orange when it's a Reddit post that comes in for a notification, maybe blue for Facebook, you're going to color code it through social media apps, black and whatever TikTok uses is color coordination. And you get that way, you can be sort of present when you're with people. You take out your phone, put it face down, say, hey, I'm interested in talking to you, but I'm also keeping an eye out for those colors. Unfortunately, I think you can only do it when you're talking to Gemini, and I forget the other instance, but there's those 2 things for right now. The design, like I said, of the Pro, the 11, and the 11 Pro XL, they're all the same. There's a new camera feature, I believe. I forget what it's called, but basically what it does is it allows you to record a video, and instead of having to manually click the record or picture button to snap your own images, the AI, Google Gemini, will go in and pull out some. And I'm assuming they leave it as a deconstruction image, so you don't lose any of the metadata and the ability to go back and change stuff. But I'm sure they will suggest, like, hey, if you're at a soccer game, maybe you saw, your child's leg swing and you got the before, but you wouldn't actually see the after because that's where the goal was at. You may not have to worry about that going forward. Again, they have, I think it's Pixel, whatever the brand OS is called, the latest one's coming out, and it's going to have this new pill-shaped floater on your phone that basically goes from app to app. Obviously, first-party apps, so it's anything that Google offers as far as Gmail, YouTube, and the like, Google Home. This little pill-shaped thing will follow across different apps, collecting data and kind of monitoring, so it can offer you in real time suggestions. So if you were looking maybe if you're going on a date and you're looking for Thai food restaurants in the area, then the person you're supposed to meet with texts you a new time. You'll get this little pill suggestion saying like, hey, well, then here's the new time and the location that they're proposing. I know you're looking at Thai near your house, but here's Thai near the closest spot. Do you want to confirm and send that message out? That's kind of cool, forward-thinking AI that we, hopefully want to see more of. We don't have to keep prompting it to do stuff. Like I said, the phones, I believe, I think the Pro starts at about a little over $1,000. The Pro XL is $13, and then we have the kind of the boy of the show, the Pro XL Fold, because it comes 2 weeks after Samsung introduced the Pixel Fold 8. Google didn't really change its stance on it. They're going tall and wide with their version of it. The hinge is a little sturdier, just like Samsung. You won't see the crease in the middle as much. It's not as prominent. The software experience is the same that you get on all the Pixel Fold devices this year, so you get an updated version of that. The cameras on the back have been tweaked just slightly to let in more light so that your slow and nighttime photography can be, legible. You won't just see blurry, ghost-like images in the dark. Other than that, this is mostly an incremental upgrade. We didn't see anything big or different like the Pixel Fold 8. We're expecting, I think in a couple weeks, about 3 or 4 weeks, we're expecting Apple to come out with its version of the Fold, which will run presumably iOS or iPadOS or some, hybrid mix of that. With that being said, do you think Google is being left behind if they're going to keep everything that they've done with the Pixel 10 and Pixel 9 and just kind of spec buff it?
I don't want to say they're being left behind as much as they may be playing it smart. I think, Google in hardware to me has always been a half a step behind everybody else. They're all about the software experience, and usually the software tools that they put on those phones end up inching their way to Samsung or inching their way to Apple or vice versa within a few months of release. So anything put in the Pixel software that's Google exclusive, I've always been able to get something just like it just a few months later on my Samsung and then on my iPhone either before or after. But, Google is all in on the AI, and I think, the flashing light, the lack of API access and ability to customize that is kind of a little bit of a proof of that. Hey, we want to make sure that this is just Gemini specific. Well, that's going to get you more interested in Gemini per se. But I don't think they're going to sell a lot of these, to your point. I think a lot of people are going to hold on to last year's version. I think if they were to sell something, it might be the Fold. I'm a fan of their version of the Fold, kind of the tall and the wide. That's just my personal preference. If I was to buy a folding phone right now, it would probably be theirs. I like that aspect ratio. Now, do I like, some of the, CPU, GPU combinations, memory combinations? No. But as far as form factor, I like that. But Apple is going to, you briefly mentioned, Apple is going to tell the story here and probably maybe by this time a month from now where we know what the Apple folding phone is going to be. But what's also interesting, if you hang out in the developer community, I've not seen anybody mention developing something for folding Apple. So I'm a little bit concerned about when Apple does come out. Yeah, I'm sure the hardware will be top notch. That's what you expect from Apple, but Apple has always been a little sluggish sometimes on the software side, whereas the Pixel does well on the software side and sometimes struggles on the hardware side. So, something to think about. Everybody's so excited over the folding phone of Apple. what's your software experience going to be? I'm not seeing this in the Apple developer community of, hey, I'm getting my app ready for the folding phone that's coming. I got the I got the SDK for, the new device. So I'm a little bit concerned about what the experience is going to be like when the hardware hits the desk in the Apple world.
Yeah, those are all valid concerns. I agree with you. I think, again, we have to presume, I didn't even say presume, it's basically a fact, that most of these devices we get are 3 to 5 years in development. So I think when Google was creating the Fold, they tried the tall skinny, then they widened it a little bit. And they said, hey, you know what? This is the future. So they invested in it. Samsung, because it's bigger, has more resources, and probably just has, continuously spying on Apple. They were able to pivot a little faster, and I think it's paying off for them. They're saying the Fold is sold out. People are loving the design, even though the phone is spec-wise inferior to the Fold 8 Ultra or even the Fold 7 in many ways. But it's just, I think people are realizing this is just good in the hand. And I think this has always been Google's bread and butter. It's good in the hand. It doesn't have the fastest chip. It doesn't have tons of ecosystem support that you get with a Samsung or Xiaomi or OnePlus in different countries. What it has always been good is in the hand. When you use it, the software is just nice. It works. It's smooth, never stutters, never bolts or buckles. Samsung has gotten way better since, they switched to One UI and a bunch of other things. But, there's a time, and I'm sure there'll be times where your operating system, which is bolted on top of Google and is bolted on services on top of what Google offers. You got, 2 different banking apps, 2 different email apps, 2 different file systems apps, 2 different photo gallery apps. So they're all running continuously if you don't want to manually shut these down. And there are times where, again, that in-hand experience starts to suffer. It's a little clunky, transitioning. Sometimes you may even just get a frozen image on a screen. Nothing that is, what it used to be back in the day, but it's something you don't necessarily deal with, or at least not as frequently as you would with Samsung as you do on the Pixel. I said all that to say this. Folding phones, I think, are gonna, I wouldn't say go mainstream, but be more used. And I've seen a lot of Folds 6s and 7s out in the world. And saying this feels like we talk about the Surface devices. There are people who, you go to an airport, you'll see out of 10 people, there may be 2 people using a Surface Pro, and then if it's not the majority of people using Macs, then it's some sort of Lenovo. But a long time ago, you'd be aghast to find one other person with a Surface near you anywhere. Now it's pretty commonplace, and I believe that's how Folds are going to be. Again, I'm not saying that the Surface does very well, but you're going to start seeing people use them more. And again, this may have the Apple effect. I just think that I wouldn't play with the Fold 8. And it is a very novel device. It's fun, and it's nice to use, and it's good in the hand. And for Google not to have its, a solution to that, at least not this year, I think it may hurt them somewhat. Because you're basically telling people who bought the Fold last year, hey, this Fold is very similar. And if you weren't interested in that Fold last year, because it's so similar, you're probably not going to be interested this year, which sees you, which leaves you open to what does Samsung got? What does Apple have? So I think the camera stuff is great. The software is great. I love the color. They have a bright new red color that looks really awesome. Or fuchsia, whatever that mix is. I just think this is also, to your point, an AI year. They went all in on AI, and they've held back on the hardware, and it's showing. Now, if that AI is going to pay off is a different question.
Well, I think there could be a couple other things in play here, because we've talked about both of them really on the pod here today. Cost. And people are, I think what's going to help folding phones is people are going to start evaluating, if I buy the folding phone, how much more can I do with it to not need a PC? To not need that second expense. Can I create content better for those that do. Can I run my work apps? Can I run my side hustles? And keep track of my bills and all the things that we have to do now in this, modern technological world. And if I can do that better on my phone, maybe I don't need the computer on the side, and maybe I don't need a home-based internet connection because I'm paying a cell phone bill anyway. Signal is good at my place, and the data plans are now virtually unlimited in a lot of cases. And if I need a little bit of PC access, I got a hotspot. I can, do what I need to do, and my kids can still play their Game Pass on their connected devices and, whatnot. So I think we're going to a place in the next 5 years where folding phones, what have I always said about Apple? My brother and I have said it for decades.
I love Apple, right?
Well, that's
Gotcha.
You did. But Apple usually shows up late to the party. But when they do, to their credit, they get it right. They know people are ready for it. Apple is way, way, way late to a folding device. So they pretty much know, they probably have a figure of what percentage of their users is going to be standing in line day one to buy this device. And I think within the next couple of years, we get to a point, if things stay on the trajectory we're on, we get to a point to where people are using AI to build things. Okay, I built this. I don't need this service over here anymore. I built this. I don't need this service over here anymore. There's problems with that we don't have time to get into on this pod. There are issues with that. But I think you're going to see trimming down of devices, one device serving multiple purposes. The first thing we talked about years ago was Apple's going to do a folding iPad first. Well, you look at it in 2026, is that such a bad idea? No. You get, it's not such a bad idea at all. Now, our friends at Lenovo, they have, tried folding PCs, and there's been a couple of other OEMs try it too. We're coming to a point, I think, and I think we're going to see it in the next 5 years, where you've got one device, maybe two at best. You don't have, and you dock that device, you plug that device into your big keyboards, your big mouse, your mouse, your keyboard to get the comforts. But you're paying one device, one data plan, and you go from there, because bottom line is, buddy, I know we live in different states, but we live on the same coast. My grocery bills are not getting any lower. My electric bills aren't getting any lower. There's going to become a point that the industry is going to have to play with these cutbacks. And I think that's how they're going to play.
Hey, I agree with you. Couldn't said it more. I've said more about it. We'll keep coverage on the news. I might even do a hands-on with these new devices. Go to my local AT&T store, Best Buy, and see how they're doing. I think that should be it for the pod. Unless you got some free play days news.
No, I since we were doing those others and we were doing this at a different time, I didn't throw free play days in there because I knew by the time we got this up, free play days might be long past. So, if we need to record at different times, free play days may be here some weeks and may not be here some weeks. It may be, we rotate it in and out. We'll just wait and see.
With that being said, where can people find you to yell at you for not doing the free play days?
Feel free to yell. I like when people yell because, my dad always said, son, if people are yelling at you, that means they're paying attention. So if you want to yell at me, David PAJ1978 over on Blue Sky, David PAJ on Twitch, If you go find me on Twitch, you will find that I've been streaming lately, so feel free to jump over there, say hello. I will throw in one tidbit of gaming news this week. Battlefield 6 is getting the Top Gun add-on. The Top Gun add-on looks pretty good based on the cinematic trailers that they showed earlier this week, and it is also free to play this upcoming week. So that would be, let's see, today is what, my friend? Today is the 16th, so it's like the 16th through the 22nd, I believe. That game will be free for you to try out the Top Gun add-on. So if you want to come join me, I've got it downloaded. I'm gonna try it out. We can crash planes together, shoot things, blow things up, whatever we need to do. We have some fun.
Sounds like fun. You can find me at Happy Hulk or Happy Hulk 1 on Threads. I'm going to be talking about the announcements made at Disney or D23, where we had an introduction of the X-Men cast. It's one of my favorite comic books. I've been looking forward to this for quite a bit. So if you want to talk comics in the discourse about that, that's where you can find me. Like I said, it's Happy Hulk on Blue Sky, at Blue Sky, and Happy Hulk 1 on Threads. Other than that, I think I got some yard work to do tomorrow. So I will be intermittently online if you want to talk about that kind of stuff. With that being said, we want you guys to go out and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy whatever it is you're going to be doing for the next couple of days. And we'll be back next week with more Microsoft news.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Peace.